The massive crystal chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled under the light of three suns. Lord Bright of the Arthosian Empire stood tall, his blue-tinted skin reflecting the ambient glow as he faced the Council's raised platform. The 5 council members looked down at him, their expressions grave. "You seek to expand your military might, Lord Bright." The head councillor's voice echoed through the chamber. His silver robes shifted as he leaned forward. "Our records show your empire has been searching for new warrior races." Lord Bright smiled, showing his pointed teeth. "Indeed, the Meridian Collective grows stronger. We must protect our borders." The council members exchanged worried looks. The head councillor tapped his fingers on the crystal desk, bringing up ancient holographic records. Images flickered in the air between them. Scenes of destruction, burning worlds, and star systems reduced to cosmic dust. "We have something to show you," the head councillor said. "Something from 50,000 years ago." He waved his hand, and the hologram shifted to show a particular planet, a blue-green world orbiting a yellow star. Lord Bright's eyes widened. "Earth, that primitive world we just discovered." "Not so primitive," another council member spoke up. "Long ago, another empire found them. The Star Kingdom of old. They too thought they could use humans as soldiers." The hologram showed scenes of human warriors in ancient battles among the stars. "I don't understand your concern," Lord Bright said. "They look effective. Exactly what we need." The head councillor stood up. "The Star Kingdom was one of the most powerful empires in galaxy's history. Do you know what happened to them?" He paused, letting the question hang in the air. "They vanished. Completely. No traces left except these warning records." The holograms changed again, showing scenes that made even Lord Bright step back. Humans fighting with a ferocity that seemed impossible, adapting to every weapon used against them, learning, evolving their tactics, turning their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. "Humans are unique," the head councillor continued. "They come from a death world, a planet that should be too hostile for intelligent life. Their bodies can repair themselves from incredible damage. They can run until their prey drops from exhaustion. They can survive extreme temperatures, adapt to almost any environment. And their minds." He shook his head. "Their minds can process battlefield conditions in ways we still don't understand." Lord Bright laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Surely you exaggerate. They're still fighting with primitive projectile weapons on their own world." "By choice," another council member cut in. "They understand the value of simple solutions. Give them advanced technology, and they won't just use it. They'll improve it, combine it with their primitive methods in ways we never imagined." The head councillor touched another crystal, and the final hologram appeared, the last transmission from the Star Kingdom before they vanished. "Never again." The ancient voice crackled. "The humans cannot be controlled. They fight with a passion we don't understand. They call it righteousness, vengeance, justice, concepts that drive them beyond normal limits. They don't just fight for victory, they fight for ideas. And once they believe in their cause," the transmission crackled. "If you're seeing this, heed our warning. Never use humans in war. The price is too high." The holograms faded, leaving the chamber in silence. Lord Bright stood straight, his military training hiding his unease. "Thank you for your concern," he said finally. "But times have changed. We have better technology, better control methods. The humans will be useful tools, nothing more." The head councillor sat down heavily. "You're not the first to say that." He looked tired, ancient. "We've done our duty. We've shown you the warning. What you do with it is your choice. But remember this day, Lord Bright. Remember that we tried to stop you." As Lord Bright walked out of the chamber, he was already making plans. The humans would be perfect for his army. All these warnings were just superstitious nonsense from a bygone era. His empire would succeed where the Star Kingdom failed. Behind him, the council members watched him leave. The head councillor sighed and spoke softly to his colleagues. "Begin the countdown." The cycle starts again. The Arthosian observation ship hung in Earth's orbit, cloaked from primitive detection systems. Lord Bright stood at the viewing window, watching military exercises taking place in a desert region below. His science officer, Port, worked at the control panel, recording everything. "Fascinating," Port muttered, adjusting his instruments. "They're practicing warfare in conditions that would kill most species. Local temperature, 48 degrees Celsius, and they're running in full combat gear." Lord Bright smiled as he watched the humans move through their drills. "How long have they been at it?" 4 hours, sir. Their bodies are cooled by a primitive evaporation system. They call it sweating. Most species would have collapsed by now. Below, the human soldiers were attacking mock enemy positions. They moved with practiced precision, using the terrain for cover. When one tactic failed, they immediately switched to another. They adapted their strategy in real time, without waiting for orders. "Show me their conflicts," Lord Bright ordered. The viewing screen filled with images from Earth's ongoing wars. Humans fighting in frozen mountains, dense jungles, open deserts, and crowded cities. They fought with everything from advanced missiles to simple knives. They created new weapons and tactics on the spot when needed. "Their creativity in combat is remarkable," Port noted. "Look here, they turned simple farming tools into weapons. And here, they modified their vehicles for combat in ways the manufacturers never intended." Lord Bright watched a group of soldiers carry a wounded comrade through heavy fire. They risked death to save each other. That kind of loyalty is rare. "It's more than loyalty, sir." Port brought up more data. "They have something they call leave no man behind. It's not just training. It's deep in their culture. They'll fight harder to save one wounded soldier than to take a strategic position." The screen showed more battles. Humans fighting at night, using their relatively good dark vision. Humans continuing to fight despite injuries that would incapacitate other species. Humans using simple tools in creative ways to defeat more advanced technology. "What about their command structure?" Lord Bright asked. Port brought up new images. "Unusual. Their small unit leaders can make independent decisions when cut off from higher command. They call it mission-type tactics or commander's intent. They're given an objective, but can choose how to achieve it." Lord Bright watched a human squad change their entire attack plan when they spotted a better opportunity. That flexibility could be useful or dangerous. "Sir," Port said carefully, "perhaps we should consider the Council's warning." "Nonsense." Lord Bright waved his hand dismissively. "Look at them. Still killing each other over territory and resources. They're primitive. We'll offer them advanced technology, better weapons. They'll be grateful." The screen showed another battle scene. A small human unit was surrounded, outnumbered, running out of ammunition. Instead of surrendering, they fixed basic cutting tools to their weapons and charge. They won. "Begin diplomatic contact preparations," Lord Bright ordered. "We'll approach their military leaders first. Offer them a chance to fight for a greater cause." "Which leaders, sir?" "Their planet is divided into many nations." Lord Bright studied the battle footage again. "Start with their elite units, the ones who show the most tactical flexibility. We'll appeal to their desire to test themselves against worthy opponents." As Port began sending coded messages to their advanced teams, Lord Bright continued watching the humans below. They were running combat drills again, still going despite the heat. When one soldier fell behind, others dropped back to help, shouting encouragement. "Such spirit," Lord Bright murmured. "The Meridian Collective won't know what hit them." Behind him, Port quietly added another note to his report. "Humans display concerning levels of unit cohesion and combat innovation. Caution advised." He looked at his commander, who was already dreaming of victories to come, and added one final line. "High risk of operational objectives being redefined by human concepts of justice and loyalty." The observation ship continued its silent orbit, watching the warriors below who would soon change the face of galactic warfare. though not in the way Lord Bright imagined. The military base buzzed with activity as Lord Bright's shuttle landed. James Walker stood at attention with 19 other selected soldiers, all veterans chosen from Special Forces units around Earth. The alien ship gleamed under the desert sun, its metal unlike anything they'd seen before. "Remember," their commanding officer whispered, "this is a diplomatic meeting. Best behavior." Walker watched the alien delegation approach. Lord Bright led them, his blue skin and tall frame drawing all eyes. But Walker was more interested in the alien guards, their weapons, their stance, the way they moved. He was already analyzing, assessing, planning. It was automatic after 15 years of combat. "Welcome," Lord Bright's voice came through a translator. "You are Earth's finest warriors. We offer you the stars." The presentation that followed was impressive. Holograms showed vast space battles, advanced weapons, and alien worlds. The Arthosians explained their war with the Meridian Collective, describing how human soldiers could help defend civilization itself. Walker listened quietly, noting what they didn't say. Why did they need humans when they had such advanced technology? He raised his hand. "Yes, human Walker." Lord Bright seemed pleased at the interest. "Your weapons can destroy planets," Walker said. "Why do you need ground troops?" Lord Bright smiled. "Ah, practical thinking. We need warriors who can take and hold territory, who can adapt to any battlefield. Like you humans." The testing began the next day. The soldiers were given alien weapons and thrown into combat simulations. Walker's team immediately started experimenting, combining Earth tactics with alien technology. "Remarkable," Port muttered, watching through observation screens. "They're already modifying the weapons. Look, they've created makeshift bayonets for the plasma rifles." Lord Bright nodded approvingly. "How are they performing?" "Better than expected. They're using the terrain manipulators as defensive walls. No one's ever thought to do that before, and their accuracy with energy weapons is impressive." Walker's team moved through the course like shadows. They used the alien tech in ways that made the observers nervous. When given gravity manipulators for crossing obstacles, they turned them into weapons. When shown how to use personal shields, they figured out how to extend and combine them to protect entire squads. "Sir," Port said quietly, "they're learning too fast." "Nonsense. This is exactly what we want." The next test involved actual combat against training drones. The humans were outgunned and outnumbered. They won anyway. Walker led a feint that drew out the drones. Then his team used modified shields to create a kill zone. It was over in minutes. "Perfect," Lord Bright exclaimed. "With training like this." "Sir," Port interrupted, showing him new data. "They achieved this victory by reprogramming their weapons to overload. They sacrificed expensive equipment to win. The cost is irrelevant," Lord Bright snapped. "Look at the results." That evening, Walker sat with his team, cleaning their new weapons. They'd already started making improvements, adding simple Earth-style modifications to the alien technology. "This is really happening," one soldier said. "We're going to fight aliens." Walker nodded, examining the energy cell he'd modified. "They're not telling us everything. Stay sharp. Watch each other's backs." The next week, more human soldiers arrived. Walker's team began training them, combining their special forces experience with the new technology. They created hybrid tactics that made their alien observers increasingly uneasy. "They fight like they have nothing to lose," Port reported. "Even in training, they go all out. They're teaching each other to use our tech in ways we never imagined." Lord Bright watched the training footage with growing satisfaction. "They're perfect. The Meridians won't know how to counter their tactics." Port looked at his latest analysis. The humans were already forming strong unit bonds, creating their own command structure within the alien military framework. They followed orders, but always with their own interpretation. "Sir," he tried one last time. "The Council's warning. Will be proven wrong," Lord Bright said firmly. "Prepare the ships. Training is over. It's time to show the galaxy what humans can do." In the barracks, Walker cleaned his modified weapon and smiled. The aliens thought they were getting simple soldiers. They had no idea what they'd unleashed. The Meridian outpost loomed on the horizon of a rocky moon, its defense shields glowing in the starlight. Lord Bright stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching the tactical display as the human combat teams moved into position. "Remember," he spoke into the command channel, "this is a simple raid. Disable their communications and retreat." Walker's voice crackled back. "Understood, sir." Beginning approach. The humans moved in their modified combat suits, using the low gravity to their advantage. The Arthosian commanders watched in confusion as the teams split up, moving in patterns that made no sense to alien military doctrine. "What are they doing?" Port asked, tracking their movements. "The main entrance is." "Sir," a sensor operator interrupted. "Explosion at the base's power core." Lord Bright leaned forward. "Impossible. They haven't even reached the walls yet." But Walker's team had done something unexpected. They'd launched small, modified gravity devices, turned into makeshift missiles, at precise points around the base. The resulting gravitational fluctuations were tearing the shields apart from multiple angles. "Clever humans," Lord Bright muttered. "Very clever." The Meridian defenders were scrambling, trying to counter an attack pattern they'd never seen before. The humans weren't following any known military doctrine. They struck from multiple directions, used their weapons in impossible ways, and seemed to appear and disappear at will. "How are they moving so fast?" Port wondered, watching the sensors. "Their suits aren't designed for that kind of speed." Inside the base, Walker's team was demonstrating why humans were considered Death World predators. They used their natural stamina to maintain a pace that exhausted their alien opponents. When their energy weapons ran low, they switched to backup projectile weapons they'd insisted on bringing. "Sir," Walker's voice came through, unnervingly calm amid the chaos. "We've secured the primary target. Moving to secondary objectives." "Secondary?" Lord Bright frowned. "There are no secondary objectives." But the humans had their own ideas. They'd analyzed the base's layout and realized it was a perfect position for a forward operating base. Instead of just raiding it, they were capturing it intact. The Meridian defenders fell back in disarray. They'd trained to fight Arthosian soldiers, with their rigid tactics and predictable patterns. These humans were something else. They adapted instantly to any countermeasure, used the environment in unexpected ways, and seemed to communicate without speaking. "Base secured," Walker reported 30 minutes later. "You can land support troops now." Lord Bright stared at the tactical display in shock. What should have been a simple raid had turned into a complete victory. The humans had taken the base with minimal casualties and maximum efficiency. But as he watched the after-action reports come in, he felt a chill. The humans hadn't just won. They'd completely changed the nature of the mission to serve their own strategic vision. They'd seen a better way to hurt the enemy and had simply done it. "Sir," Port said quietly, "you should see this." The footage showed human soldiers helping injured Meridian troops, treating their wounds, and treating them with respect. But it also showed how efficiently they dealt with those who resisted, not with cruelty, but with a cold, professional precision that was somehow more frightening. "They fight hard," one Meridian prisoner told his interrogators, "but that's not what scares me. It's how they think. They see things differently. They turn everything into a weapon." Lord Bright watched Walker's team securing their new forward base, already modifying its defenses with their hybrid human-alien tactics. They were discussing improvements, planning future operations, thinking 10 steps ahead. "Send word to command," he ordered. "Tell them the raid was a complete success." "And the humans?" Port asked. Lord Bright watched Walker directing his troops, seeing how the other soldiers naturally followed his lead. The humans had already formed their own command structure, their own way of doing things. "The humans," he said slowly, have exceeded all expectations. He didn't add what he was thinking, that perhaps they had exceeded them too well. The Council's warning echoed in his mind, but he pushed it away. This was just the beginning. In the captured base, Walker smiled as he watched the stars. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. The emergency alert blared through the Arthosian command center. Lord Bright rushed to the tactical display, his face paling at what he saw. The Meridians had launched a massive strike, not against military targets, but against human colonies on the frontier worlds. "Get me Walker," he shouted. The communication screen flickered to life. Walker's face appeared, eerily calm despite the chaos behind him. "We're already responding." "Sir." "Responding? I haven't issued any orders." "With respect, sir, they attacked our people." Walker's voice was cold. "We're handling it." The tactical display told the story. Human combat teams were moving with unprecedented coordination. They'd abandoned all pretense of following standard Arthosian military protocols. Every human unit had mobilized simultaneously, without waiting for command approval. Port rushed in with new data. "Sir, the humans are using the captured Meridian base as a launch point. They've modified all our ships. I don't even recognize some of these weapon configurations." On screen after screen, human forces struck back. They weren't fighting like mercenaries anymore. They fought like their homes were threatened. Because they were. "Look at these readings," Port whispered. "Their combat efficiency has increased by 300%. It's like they're different creatures now." The Meridian forces found themselves facing an enemy that didn't fight like anything they'd seen before. Human ships performed maneuvers that should have torn them apart. Human ground forces appeared where they couldn't possibly be. And their tactics made no sense until it was too late. "Sir," a sensor operator called out, "the humans have breached the Meridian defense line. They're pushing straight for Meridian command worlds." Lord Bright watched in growing unease as human forces flowed through space like water, finding every gap, exploiting every weakness. They'd taken the advanced technology given to them and combined it with their own primitive but effective methods. "Walker," he tried again, "you need to coordinate with Central Command." "Can't talk now, sir," Walker cut him off. "We're a bit busy." The screen showed him directing operations from what looked like a modified command center. Human soldiers moved with perfect coordination in the background, using a combination of hand signals and short commands. Port brought up more data. "They're using their own command structure now. Look, they've organized into what they call task forces. Each one operates independently, but somehow maintains perfect coordination with the others." The Meridians tried to regroup to counter this new threat, but the humans had studied them, learned their patterns, found their weaknesses. Where Arthosian forces would have attacked head-on, humans struck from unexpected angles. Where Meridians expected standard tactics, they got innovative solutions that shouldn't have worked but did. "Sir," Port said quietly, "I don't think we're in command anymore." Lord Bright watched the tactical display as human forces continued their advance. They weren't just fighting. They were reshaping the battlefield itself. They used Arthosian gravity weapons to create killing zones in space. They modified Meridian shield technology to make improvised bomb devices. Everything they touched became a weapon. "Walker," he tried one last time, "what are your objectives?" Walker's face appeared again, and this time there was something different in his eyes. "Simple, sir. They attacked our people, so we're going to make sure they never do it again." The screen went dark. Lord Bright stood in his command center, watching as human forces continued their unstoppable advance. They weren't following anyone's plan now. They were fighting their own war, in their own way. "The Council was right," Port said softly. "They're not just soldiers. There's something else entirely." In the depths of space, human ships moved like hunters, tracking their prey. On planetary surfaces, human troops advanced with terrible efficiency. And in makeshift command centers, human leaders planned their next moves. their eyes cold with a determination that scared their alien allies more than their enemies. The Meridians had made a fatal mistake. They hadn't just attacked military targets. They'd threatened human homes, human families. They were about to learn why the Council had warned against using humans in war. And this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council's emergency session chamber was filled with worried voices. On the massive display screens, footage showed human forces advancing across multiple sectors. Lord Bright stood before the Council, trying to explain what had happened. "The situation is complicated," he started. "Complicated." The head counselor leaned forward. "Humans have taken control of 3 major Meridian worlds in the past week. They're using technology in ways we never imagined. This goes far beyond complicated." The screens showed Walker's latest operation. Human forces had turned an asteroid field into a maze of traps, using gravity weapons to turn space rocks into projectiles. A Meridian battle fleet had been destroyed without a single human ship engaging directly. "They're not just fighting the war anymore," Port reported. "They're rewriting the rules of combat." New footage appeared. Human troops had modified their combat suits to operate in deep space for impossible lengths of time. They'd created hybrid weapons that combined the raw power of alien technology with the practical efficiency of Earth weapons. "Look at this," one council member pointed. "They're teaching their methods to other species' troops." It was true. Some alien soldiers, impressed by human effectiveness, had begun training with them. The humans shared their knowledge freely with allies, creating mixed units that fought with terrifying efficiency. "Sir," an aide rushed in, "the humans have developed a new tactic." The main screen showed the latest battle. Human ships would jump in close to enemy vessels, attach modified gravity devices, then jump away. The devices wouldn't destroy the ships, they'd just make them so heavy they'd be unable to maneuver. "They're not trying to kill when they don't have to," Port noted. "They're just neutralizing threats." Lord Bright watched as more footage came in. Human forces had created their own command structure, with Walker and other leaders coordinating massive operations. They fought with a precision that made traditional military doctrine look obsolete. "We should stop them," another council member suggested. "How?" Lord Bright asked. "They're using our own technology, modified in ways we don't understand. They've created new battle strategies that—" He was interrupted by another emergency signal. The screen showed human forces approaching a major Meridian stronghold. Everyone expected a massive battle. Instead, the humans sent a message: "Surrender, and no one needs to die today." The Meridian commander laughed. Until human ships appeared from seemingly impossible angles, having used gravity manipulation to hide behind stars. More human troops emerged from stealth pods attached to asteroids, where they'd waited for days. "Your weapons are impressive." Walker's voice came through, calm as ever. "But you're still thinking in straight lines. We don't." The Meridian base surrendered within an hour. "They've changed everything," Port said quietly. "Look at these tactical analyses. They're not just winning battles, they're making our entire approach to warfare obsolete." The council chamber fell silent as more reports came in. Human forces weren't just fighting, they were evolving their tactics in real time. Every victory taught them something new. Every battle made them more efficient. "We tried to warn you," the head counselor said to Lord Bright. "Humans don't just fight wars, they transform them." On the screens, human ships moved in patterns that defied traditional military logic. Their ground forces operated with a level of coordination that seemed impossible, and their leaders, like Walker, showed a creativity in combat that scared both allies and enemies. "What do we do now?" Lord Bright asked. The head counselor watched as another Meridian fleet surrendered to human forces. Now we hope they remember they're fighting for us, not against us, because I'm not sure we could stop them anymore." In deep space, Walker stood on his command ship's bridge, watching his forces secure another sector. His troops had already modified their next set of tactics, preparing for battles in ways no alien force could predict. The galaxy was changing. The humans hadn't just joined the war. They'd revolutionized it. And they were just getting started. "Next target," Walker said calmly, and his forces moved like shadows through the stars, ready to rewrite the rules of war once again. The Galactic Council chamber was silent as Walker walked in. No guards accompanied him. They'd learned that trying to control humans was pointless. Behind him stood Admiral Reed, while Lord Bright and the Meridian leadership sat on opposite sides. "You've called for peace talks," the head counselor said. "Yet you control most of the major systems now." Walker nodded. "That's why it's the perfect time to talk, before more lives are lost." The tactical displays showed the current situation. Human forces held strategic positions throughout the galaxy. They'd created a network of bases and supply lines that neither the Arthosians nor Meridians fully understood. "Your terms?" the Meridian leader asked, trying to hide his fear. Walker stepped forward, his combat suit modified with both human and alien technology. "Simple. All colonies, human, Arthosian, Meridian, will be protected. No more civilian targets, no more proxy wars, and humans will remain as peacekeepers." "Peacekeepers," Lord Bright stood up. "You were supposed to be soldiers for hire." Admiral Reed smiled. "We were. Then you gave us the stars and expected us not to care about them." The screen showed human ships patrolling trade routes, protecting civilian transports from pirates. Human ground forces had already started helping rebuild worlds damaged in the war. They'd turned their tactical genius toward preservation instead of destruction. "You don't understand," Walker continued. "We never wanted to rule. We just wanted to make sure no one else could threaten those we protect." Port, watching from the side, pulled up new data. Human forces had created a defensive network that made large-scale warfare practically impossible. They'd taken the best aspects of both Arthosian and Meridian technology, combined it with human innovation, and changed the balance of power forever. "The war is over," Walker stated. "You can accept peace now, or we can demonstrate why the old council warned you about us. Your choice." The head counselor looked at the tactical displays again. Human forces weren't just occupying territory, they were stabilizing it. Their hybrid tactics and modified technology had created a new kind of order. "And if we refuse?" the Meridian leader asked. Walker didn't answer. He didn't need to. Everyone had seen what happened when humans were pushed too far. "This isn't what we planned," Lord Bright said quietly. "No," Admiral Reed agreed. "You planned to use us as weapons. Instead, we became protectors. That's what humans do. We adapt, we evolve, we change things, usually for the better, if you let us." The council chamber's screen showed more images. Human ships escorting civilian vessels, human troops helping rebuild colonies, human engineers teaching other species how to modify technology in new ways. "Your terms are accepted," the head counselor finally said. "The war is over." Walker nodded and turned to leave, but stopped at the door. "One more thing. Add it to your records. Humans aren't weapons to be used. We're people who will fight for what's right. Remember that next time you think about starting a war." Later, in the council's private chambers, the head counselor added a new entry to the ancient warnings. "Humans are not tools of war. They are forces of change. Give them a reason to fight, and they will transform your entire society. Give them advanced technology, and they will reinvent it. Give them a cause, and they will reshape the galaxy for it. Never again shall we make the mistake of thinking we can control them. Instead, let us hope they continue to choose to protect rather than conquer." In orbit above Earth, Walker stood on his command ship's observation deck. Human vessels, modified with impossible combinations of technology, patrolled nearby. They changed everything. Warfare, technology, the balance of power. Was it worth it? Admiral Reed asked, joining him. Walker watched as ships from all species passed safely through human-protected space, We did what humans always do. We took a bad situation and made something better out of it. That's worth everything. Below them, Earth continued its orbit, no longer a primitive world, but the home of the galaxy's most respected peacekeepers. The species that had been meant to fight wars had instead found a way to prevent them, and the galaxy was better for it.